This is the features video for the 0.9.5 release, and I'll jump right into it. I know you've been waiting to see this. Here it is. Here's your modifier bucket. You can now drag it and drop it into a macro. Now you can click this button and it automatically applies those bonuses to the modifier bucket. What? That's not what you were looking for? Oh. No, right. Equipment. Duh. Sorry. Just remember, this isn't a beta stage, so we're going to give you a lot of functionality, and we're going to hope that you can help us fill it out. But here we are in the items directory. I have a couple of items already created, so I'm going to show you a couple of these. First, the minor healing potion. Bring that sucker up. And the one thing about our items are they don't have to be singular. In this case, it's actually a cache of 10 minor healing potions. And there's not much to a healing potion. It doesn't offer melee attack ranges or anything like that. But it does have an on-the-fly formula in there that we've just enhanced. And what this will do is it'll show the word drink me if it's able to remove one of the quantities. And this is some new enhancements in the 0.9.5 release. If a quantity command is executed on a piece of equipment, it can auto-detect that equipment so you don't have to put it in the chat command itself. And if so, then it'll apply 1d hit points to this character. So let me switch to some character views and we'll take a peek at it. On the left is Chris, on the right is Harry. Chris has Alejandro and Honest Abe, and Harry has Bog. So we're going to bring out this item and we're going to give some minor healing potions to Honest Abe. And there it goes. Gets some minor healing potions. So we'll bring up Honest Abe and we'll scroll down here and you can see the minor healing potions with this identifier. There's a system setting. You can turn this off if you don't want it. And this function, drink me. So actually he's not hurt. See, we'll hurt him a little bit and then we'll drink. And if we look at the chat, it subtracted 1 from the healing potion and it healed him 1 hit point. Lucky him. You can move this to the other equipment. You can split it. If you move it and hold down the shift key, it will split the stack. So we'll put most of them in the other equipment, but we'll have 2 on our belt. So now there are 2 on our belt. And I'll double click this to sort it alphabetically. There we go. But now that he thinks about it, he wants to give some to his other character. Now, since he owns this other character, he can just do it directly here. He's going to drag the minor potion. You notice how it has the icon, and drop it on his other character. Because it's being transferred to another character, it always brings up this question of how many you want to send. He's going to send, I'm only going to send 2 over there. So his went to 5, and if we open up Alejandro, Alejandro now has 2 minor healing potions. And Alejandro decides he's going to share 1 with Bog. So he's going to drag this and drop it onto Bog. And of course, he's going to give just 1. So now Bog over here gets this question, does he want to have the minor healing potion? And you know what, I'll move this question aside, open his character sheet so you can see that he doesn't currently have any, and he's going to say yes. So now he has a minor healing potion, and Alejandro has a minor healing potion, and Honest Abe is hoarding all the rest of them. Now you can combine them back, like Honest Abe could take these minor healing potions and drop them on his other healing potions, and it'll add them back up to 7. You can also split non-foundry items, like I can take these 22 copper coins, hold down the shift key, and say I'm going to put 10 of them here, and you can combine them again by dropping on top of each other. But this will get overwritten by the import, whereas the foundry items will not. So if I split the copper coins, I'll put 2 of them up here, and then I press the re-import button, boom, the 22 copper coins comes back because this is coming from GCS. Also, you can't drag non-foundry equipment to other characters. It'll pop up a little warning. And remember, we still keep track of the item even if the quantity is 0, because you may get more at a later date, but you can always remove it. So here, if I go down to 1, here, I'll just drink this potion. Sorry, go down to 0. I can either click this button or right mouse click and say delete, and it will actually get rid of the item. Here, I'll just click this button and it'll ask me, yeah, I want to delete it. Sorry, there we go. Now I'm going to re-import. We've done a couple things to fix the re-import. So if your actor is actually broken, re-importing now may fix it. Before it wouldn't allow you to re-import, but now it may re-import. Okay, so let me show you the next item. Here we're going to have the Ring of the Mind. Now this is a magic ring. There's only 1. It costs a lot of money, but it actually does something for you. It gives you an advantage. It gives you the advantage charisma, which there's an on-the-fly formula to add 1 to your influence rolls, and bonuses. And here is where we apply bonuses to your character sheet. Now, we can enhance this going forward, but right now it follows the on-the-fly formulas, and you can bonus things like attributes and skills. We haven't done anything else yet, but we basically plan to make this rather flexible. Okay, so in this particular case, by putting this ring on, it will increase your public speaking by 1, your leadership by 1, and your IQ by 1, which also means all the skills that are based on IQ. So Alejandro, his IQ is 13, and he does have public speaking of 12. So if we put this ring on, yep, his public speaking went to 14, his IQ went to 14, and his other IQ skills all went up as well. And if I take it off the ring and I put it in his other equipment, those bonuses go away. Oh yeah, and I don't know if you saw that, but the charisma advantage appears when he's wearing it, and when he takes it off, it disappears. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you double click on the item equipment, you'll actually bring up the item editor. Now, this is your own copy of the item, not the global item, so you can make changes to it local to your character, and when it gets transferred around, it's everybody's local copy. That's Foundry's deal. But this occurs wherever basically the little green star pops up. So if you're up here trying to change charisma and you double click on it, you actually bring up the item editor instead of the standard advantages editor. But you can go in here and, change the advantage. And we'll make this +3. And now when we close, it becomes a +3. Okay, so you see how items can work. I'll show you a quick run through of how to create them. So we're going to create an item, and actually I'm just going to call it Q for the moment, because you can reverse drag and drop. Here I have a shopkeeper actor that has some stuff in it, and I want this magic item to be the same as this large throwing knife. So I'm going to take this large throwing knife and drag it over here, and it fills in the equipment information about the large throwing knife. Well, then it's also a melee attack, so I'm going to drag this melee attack over. You'll see that it added the melee attack. I'll drag this. So now there's 2. There's the swing and the thrust. Oh, and I forgot the ranged attack. We'll throw that. So there are 2 melee attacks and a ranged attack for this knife. And then I'll click on the picture here and put something appropriate here. I know it's not quite right, but there we go. Got a picture. Now, unfortunately, that's as far as we can go. We don't know the skills necessary to fight with a large throwing knife. And this is where you use the on-the-fly skill tree formula to fill this in. So if we go to the basic set, knife is DX -4, force sword, main gauche, and short sword. I'm just going to do DX -4. So we'll do DX -4 and short sword -3. And that's the on-the-fly formula to check either of those 2, and whichever one's better, use it. So that's the same for the thrust attack, and the throwing attack just uses DX -4. So when this item is given to an actor, it will use that on-the-fly formula to calculate the skill for that particular actor. Now, we currently don't have a way to identify bonus damage, but you can just change the damage here. If this is a slightly better melee attack for this particular magical long throwing sword, you could change this from a 1D -2 to a 1D -1. We'll make it 1D, and then we'll make this 1D -1. And for sticks and giggles, I'll give it a strength increase of +1. But note, this doesn't affect any of the damage calculation. We don't know what kind of strength chart you're using, so all this does is increase the strength and any skills based on strength. I don't know if there are any. But if you need higher damage, you need to go back to the melee or the range tabs and enter in the actual damage. Okay, that's good enough for a large throwing knife. And of course, don't forget, you can always add on-the-fly formulas. This knife is +1 damage against orcs, and the player can apply that in the appropriate situation. So let's give this large throwing knife to Alejandro and see what happens. So we'll drop it in here. And there we have the attack, the large throwing knife with the +1 damage against orcs. And yeah, he dex -4. He has a pretty low chance of hitting with this thing. That's just not his skill. And of course, if we take the large throwing knife and unequip it, then that particular attack disappears. And of course, he can give it to his friends, So he'll give the large throwing knife to his buddy. Since there's only one item, it doesn't ask you to split it up. It just assumes you're giving it to him. So Honest Abe now has the large throwing knife. And is he any better at it? No. They don't have the knife skill. All right, so that's what items can do for you. Of course, play around with this. Let us know what additional features you think you could use. Like I said, I'd like to expand the bonuses language so that we could add things in like an increase to DR, which I know some people have asked for. We don't have that yet. But I leave it up to our wonderful player community to let us know. Okay, so on to the next cool feature. This has to deal with damage. If you use slam damage or you just apply damage to a creature, here we'll apply these 10 points of damage to this fire elemental. We have these various chats that you can send out. In this case, if you're playing with shock, you can send out this chat reminder that the fire elemental is under shock. And now in the chat message itself, there's a button for the GM to actually turn on that status. So when I click this button, the fire elemental now has the shock -4 status. And if we pull it up in the Modifier Bucket tooltip, you can see the fire elemental is affected by shock 4. And we've made more advancements to the on-the-fly system. You can now have nested if statements using the curly braces. So Honest Abe likes to shoot his longbow, and he has arrows in his shoulder quiver. So I have this macro here that will allow him to shoot. And if we look at the macro, what it does is it subtracts one arrow from the shoulder quiver, and then it rolls the ranged attack of balanced bow. You can also use R or M now for attacks instead of A. And then if that succeeds, and there's another curly brace, it then rolls the damage for the balanced bow and prints out take that to the chat window. So if you look at the shoulder quiver, it has 12 arrows. We'll fire. He succeeded, did some damage, and yelled take that. And thanks to one of our users, I've added a light macro. Instead of using up one of your macro slots, you can just use the chat command light, and it brings up a dialog that you can set some of these things. The only one that's going to show in my setting is darkness. So if I turn darkness, that character is now putting out some darkness. Oh yeah, here's a minor thing. If you drag an on-the-fly formula that has override text into the macro bar, it gives it the name of the override text instead of the whole formula. And then lots of little updates. If you use drag ruler, when you move the drag ruler around, it no longer adds the bonus to the modifier bucket. And of course, a bunch of other fixes. Probably the one that's going to be the most visual is that during an import, the character sheet's going to flash a lot less. And actually, if you're importing from the Foundry data directory, like I do now, and it doesn't ask for a file name, the screen may not change at all. If nothing has changed on Bog when you import, it won't flash at all. Now, if I make some change like getting rid of his two-handed axe, and then I re-import, of course, it'll come back and you'll see the screen update. But that's why I add the notification at the top, just to let you know it did import. Okay, that should be a good teaser for the 0.9.5 release. I plan to make a how-to work with items video, because I think there's some decent complexity there. But we're going to add some more functionality to it with your help. So we hope you like the new features, and as always, thank you for watching.